We are always looking for ways that we can share to save money, and this year is no different. In fact, it may be more important than ever to share our knowledge amongst each other. So, in this video, I have some new frugal tips for you for 2026, and some of these came from my adult children, and I learned some new things. Hi, if you don't know me, I am Bonita, and I'm early retired. I'm starting my third year of early retirement. I'm too young for Social Security, and I'm living on a low income and I'm living on savings. So, right now, we are looking for ways to save going into 2026. And I'm always surprised when I learn something new because sometimes these things are things I have never even thought about, even though they make a lot of sense. And a couple of these I learned over the Christmas holiday just by visiting with my adult children, just in normal conversation. One of them is asking for a price match at a store who has an online store and a brick and mortar store. I never thought of doing this. I mentioned last year in one of my videos that I went into Walmart. I needed some ink for my printer, and it cost more in the store than it did online. So I ended up going home and ordering it online. My daughter said this happened to her. She showed the phone to an employee and said, "Can you price match your online store?" And they said, "Yes, I can." And she got the discount and didn't have to go home and order the item. I thought, what a brilliant idea. Why didn't I think of that? The second tip is from my son-in-law. My son-in-law said he freezes things in water to prevent freezer burn. I never heard of this, and I looked it up, and he's absolutely right. Freezing fish and chicken, and he was freezing deer steak in his freezer bags with water will actually keep them from being freezer burnt. When things are freezer burnt, the moisture is pulled out of the item, and that's what makes those ice crystals that end up making your foods taste funky. And putting that water in there prevents that from happening. There are different ways that you can do this, and not all foods are recommended to be done this way, but fish and chicken and obviously deer steak can be done this way. And I just thought, wow, that is really a good idea. I'm sure that got passed down to him from his parents, but it's something that I had never heard of. When I researched this, I found that even when you bring home ice cream, if you purchase ice cream in the store, if you take the lid off and put a piece of saran wrap on top of that and then cover it with the lid, that will prevent air from getting to your ice cream, and that will keep your ice cream from being freezer burnt. Let me know if you've ever heard of this or if you do it yourself in your home. What a great tip. Never let buying something be your first choice when you need something. I know this can be so easy because we know what we need, we know where it's at, we can go get it. But we had some home remodeling done, as many of you know, from last July through December. And when they got the carpet put in to our first bedroom, it was so thick that the doors would not close. We needed to trim something off of the doors to get them to shut over the carpet. And we didn't have that type of equipment. We didn't have a circular saw or anything like that. So our first instinct was not to buy it, but to borrow it. And so we borrowed it from one of my husband's friends. It took like a week and a half to 2 weeks to get with him so we could borrow it. And that prolonged us getting it done, but we still got it done. We returned the saw, and we didn't have to buy one that was a one-off type of situation. We don't need a circular saw. I don't even know when we would use one again. We just needed it this one time, and then we were able to give it back. So never let buying something, even if you need something done right away, be your first choice. One of the things that I have really dedicated myself to doing over these last few years is making sure that I have reusable products. And over the holiday season, I cut my finger. I cut it pretty good in two places when I was cutting up the turkey. And I had a band-aid on there. It was very painful, and I needed to do dishes and I needed things to continue. Now, some people might have pulled out the paper plates at that point or said, listen, we just we can't do the regular plates because we can't do dishes because of this, because I hand wash dishes. But at some point, I had picked up a pair of rubber gloves as backup at Dollar Tree when they were $1.25. I don't know what they are now. And I thought, this is the time for my rubber gloves so that things can continue. So I pulled those out. They're reusable, at least for quite a while, and I was able to continue as normal. But I don't keep a lot of one type of products around. I don't keep a lot of paper plates. I don't keep paper towels. I don't keep paper napkins. I don't keep a lot of that around. I do have a few of them from back when I transitioned over to wash type items like washable napkins, washable rags. But I really don't keep a lot of that. And it has saved us a lot of money. I know it has, because our budget is $245 a month for food. I haven't changed that in many years. And our household supplies comes out of that too. But when you're not buying anything but like toilet paper and laundry detergent and some dish soap, it doesn't affect my budget that much month to month. And so when I can use a reusable product, I always choose to use that first, because I know that if I don't, that cuts into my food budget. This next tip is one that I followed a lady into the Kroger slash Dillon store, and I thought, wow, she knew about this and I didn't. She went through the out instead of through the indoors. And I followed her because inside there, Starbucks had set up where you could have free samples. I bet they have sat there the entire time that I have checked out and walked out those doors many, many times. But I wasn't even thinking about there being free samples. But they are right there as you're walking out the door next to the Starbucks. And they had free little peach frappe with whipped cream, little ounce or two cups. Make sure that you are alert and aware and watching for stuff like this, because I've been missing out this whole time. And you can bet I'm going to be watching the next time. And then I thought, I bet you she's getting one on the way in and she's also getting one on the way out, because nobody's watching. But I wasn't going to go there. This is one that I've used for years and I still do it. And that is stacking deals. If there's a way for me to stack a deal, you can bet that I am going to. Several of you know that I have back problems. Well, I've been getting some shots in my back at the local pain clinic, and I went to their open house and they handed out these $50 fake bills. Well, I had to prepay for my services to get so many sets of appointments. And I asked them, will this work since I've already prepaid? And they said, you bet it will. So I brought that coupon in out of my car and it saved me $50 towards another appointment. I also will buy things in the grocery store, and then I will get a digital coupon from buying it there, and then I will upload my receipt to Ibotta and get a rebate on the same product. Sometimes it costs me next to nothing. Sometimes I end up making money on that deal and bringing the product home. These next few tips actually came from our electric company. We get a monthly catalog with tips in there, and one of them was to make sure that your outdoor lights are LED and switch them to motion detectors if you can. A lot of people think about their indoor lights, but they don't think about their outdoor lights, and having those on all the time can cost a lot of money. Another one of their tips was to have your gamers in your house shut down their games. Now, I know this one may cause some conflict, but I just want to throw this information out there. They said a lot of people will put those on standby or rest mode, and they do that so that the updates will continue. And then when they're ready to play the game, all those updates are done and they don't have to wait. But they said that those things actually pull quite a bit of electricity when they're just left on all the time. So I hope that these tips were helpful to you today. I hope that maybe some of them were ones that you can use. I'm always looking for more ways to pass on that we can share to save money going into the new year. Saving money gets tougher all the time as prices and uses of resources and electricity and water increase, but working together, maybe we can find some tips that we can share that will help us all a little bit. Thanks for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Stick around to see the animals here at the end on the farm, and I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. See you soon.